Hello everyone and welcome to 5 Minutes with Farams. This month we've got all the way from Bermondsey, London, Mike and Colin from Spartan Brewery. Hi guys.
Hello. Hey.
How's things?
Pretty good, thanks. Yeah, we're apologies in advance for the noise. As you can hear, we're in a railway arch and there's trains going overhead, so any noise then just ignore it. But yeah, we're just gearing up, ready to open next weekend. Obviously, Monday's the 12th, when pubs can open again, their beer gardens, and our tap room opens on a Saturday. So we're just sort of doing a year's worth of tidying, really, and prepping things ready for that. So it's good.
Fantastic. Yeah, everyone's got fingers crossed that it's going to go well, and people are going to get straight down back to the pubs and consuming decent amounts of beer, and let's get the show running again. Really,
that's the hope.
That's the hope. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, we've both got bookings at different pubs on Monday, first day.
Oh, have you? Excellent. Where are you going to be going?
I'm going to be going down my local first, and then down to the Hackney Tap.
Oh, lovely. What about you, Colin?
So actually, we've got 3 bookings on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday for London, and they're all just local to me. So, nothing quite as crafty as the Hackney Tap, but local pubs with good people and good vibes. So it should be nice.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, I haven't got any bookings yet. There's a few pubs around my way that have got outside spaces, but yeah, I need to get organised really, because otherwise I'm going to miss out. But evenings, I think I'll be able to slot in and yeah, do what I need to do. Right, let's get on with the questions and 5 minutes from Farams. Here we go, guys. What is your favourite hop?
So personally speaking, I've got quite an affinity for Jester, one of your hops. It's one that we first used probably close to 3 years, if not more ago now, and we used it in a single hop beer. Back then, the beer was good, but it took a couple of weeks for the hop to kind of mellow down. It was quite punchy and in your face, but it came out lovely. And I guess kind of since then, we've used it multiple times, and we've noticed it's kind of improved, and it's sort of, while the intensity is still there, you get more of the kind of fruit and the grapefruit and the flavours we're looking for, rather than just a punch in the face. Right. Especially with the sort of new T45 variety we've been using. So a lot of the sort of fruitiness really shines through. So I guess it's a hop we've used a lot, and we've noticed it change and improve over the course of the last 2, 3, 4 years. And yeah, I mean that's probably my favourite hop to use at the moment.
Yeah, personally, I'm a big fan of Bramlin Cross. I just love the blackcurranty flavour that comes from it, and it goes into one of the favourite beers I make here, one of the first recipes I came up with. So yeah, that's pretty much my favourite one.
Fantastic. Yeah, they're both cracking hops. Yeah, and as you say, Colin, the Jester people have been looking at it again in recent years, and maybe they know how they're now knowing how to use it, or maybe there is a change in the hop. I don't know, but it's
I don't know. Maybe tastes have changed as well a bit, but yes. Certainly the sort of first time we used it, most beers they're conditioned for a while and then they're ready to go. Whereas we just found initially the Jester needed an extra week or 2 just to mellow slightly. Whereas these days, as I say, that's gone and it's lovely. So we're enjoying it.
Brilliant. Okay, favourite beer? Either the one that you've brewed or from another brewery.
No, so one of my favourite beers is 5 Points Railway Porter. Whenever I see it on cask, I have to have it no matter what else is on. It's one I always make a beeline for. So that'd be my top beer.
What about you, Mike?
For me, it's a classic. It's Batham's Bitter.
Oh wow!
I'm from the Midlands, and the waterfall next to where I grew up, where my parents lived, was a Holden's pub that always had Batham's Bitter on. So it's what my dad taught me to drink.
Excellent. I remember going up to see Farams a long time ago and being entertained by Paul Corbett and Will Rogers, and they took me to a pub serving Batham's, and yes, it was quite a good night. I think there was lots of beer flowing that night, and it was very, very Moorish.
I think we went to a Meet the Brewer before we were brewers, and I think Batham's was the inspiration behind Neckel.
Right.
I think that's what Logan fans?
Yeah, it was, I guess probably a decade or so ago. We bumped. Well, it wasn't a bump into. He was doing a Meet the Brewer event at one of the pubs in London, and I mean, being from the Midlands as well, these two were talking about West Brom. But as a result, it did transpire. He mentioned in passing that their neck oil was originally based on Beebham's. Obviously, it's changed a lot since then. But
wow. Okay. And likewise, Colin, for me, if I see 5 Points Best or 5 Points Railway Porter on the bar, they're pretty much go-to beers for me. They're excellent. They really are.
yeah, I had one of the mini casks of the 5 Points Best over lockdown, and that went down very nicely.
Oh, I bet it didn't last too long either. Right, what are we talking about as far as food pairings? I'm not sure I do that much in the way of food and beer pairing, but have you got sort of like ideal companions as far as food and beer?
No, I wouldn't class it as food, and definitely under the government it wouldn't be classed as food. But I just love scratchings. Again, from the Midlands, bag of scratchings with my pint. That's my ideal food pairing.
Excellent. What about you, Colin?
Yeah, again, keeping it simple. You know, if you take me to a good curry house, you know, a nice pint of lager, and I'll wait for the chiller to kick off. So yeah, as I say, curry and a pint of lager, or you know, just a classic Sunday roast and a pint of bitter. You know, it's simple beer, good foods. That's all I need.
Yeah, I agree. I do find a cheese, if I ever have a cheese board, something like a pint of Best or something like that with those toffee notes, and it tends to get me going. But yeah, bar snacks and most types of beer will work for me. Favorite beer destination? Do you have anywhere in the world or in the UK that sort of tickles your fancy on that front?
Somewhere we've been quite a few times is Bruges Beer Festival.
Wow.
It's usually at the start of February, and it falls around one of our friends' birthdays. And he's a big fan of Belgian beer, so going over to there for an excuse for his birthday is a great beer festival.
Yeah, I can imagine. What about you, Colin?
To be honest, I quite like kind of mooching around the UK. I think there's a lot of cracking pubs in big cities, Manchester, Liverpool, Sheffield, Norwich. I could easily spend the weekend in any of those places. Just up pint after pint. Hopefully in the summer. To pick a favourite would be hard.
But yeah, before we had families and responsibilities, going away for a weekend to random UK cities and just going to all the best pubs was what we did.
Yeah, I remember those days.
Yeah,
great days.
I can't pick a favourite, but there's lots of good beer destinations in the UK in my mind.
I think Manchester would be up there for a UK one.
Agreed. Yeah, I was going to say Manchester.
Some of the old school traditional pubs there are just absolutely top notch, and now they've got so many cool breweries and stuff there as well that you just can't go wrong with Manchester.
Yeah, I find Glasgow the same as well. Glasgow's a belting place, some real interesting pubs and some just places you just love to get set in and while away the hours with really good beer. And yeah,
and no doubt snow in summer as well. They're changing weather up there.
My parents have moved up to Scotland. It snowed last week.
But it snowed here last week, didn't it?
Yeah. We had snow in East Kent. Mind you, my old man's moved to Glasgow and he's been living there for about 2 years. And he moved from Yorkshire, and he says the weather's been far better in Glasgow for some reason. A lot milder, a lot more sunshine. I don't know whether he's pulling my cork, but he seems to be having a good time. Favourite pub in the UK?
So my favourite pub would be, again, go back to memories and keeping things simple, would be my old local back when I lived in Canterbury, called the Unicorn Inn. And it's just a classic little boozer, a couple of cask beers, a bar billiards table, which you never see anywhere these days. Just a nice atmosphere, And whenever I go back to visit family or friends, it's always a sort of go-to pub. It's always the first place we meet and the last place we end up at the end of the night. So
yeah. What about yourself as far as pubs go?
So always go back to the Waterfall, my parents' local. But since I've been in London 10 years, ever since I moved to East London, every other house or flat I've moved to had to be in walking distance of the Eleanor Arms. near Vicky Park. It's just your traditional, proper local, super friendly local boozer. The sort of pub where on any night of the week, you don't have to arrange to go with anyone. You just go down, and there'll always be people to talk to.
Yeah, that sounds lovely.
Plus, they've got an immaculately maintained pool table.
These are the essentials, aren't they? Good.
So what takes the pubs to another level?
Yeah, bar snacks, pool table, bar billiards, those extracurricular activities. What's one item in the brewery could you not do without?
Again, for me, it's got to be the pressure washer. It's just so versatile. You know, no matter what you're doing, there's always a time and a place for just getting the old pressure washer out and just hosing the hell of something down. You know, no matter how dirty the mash tun is, no matter how grimy the FV or the kettle is, pressure washer comes along, cuts it all up, and knocks hours off your day. That'd be my go-to.
What about you, Mike?
It's our favourite nicknamed piece of equipment, Timmy the Mallet. Like only for people who are old enough to get the reference to Timmy Mallet. But yeah, you can't do anything without a mallet. You can't cast without a mallet. Some of the pressured vessels you can't get open without a mallet. If anything's stuck, just hit it with the mallet.
Yeah. Well, last week we were casking, and sort of next door we got a brewery next door, and they kind of popped the head around and said, "Oh, do you need 2 mallets?" Because we were both trying to do it at the same time. And so he said, "That'd be great." And he went next door, grabbed his mallet, and gave it to us. And by gosh, it was massive.
Oh, mate.
Look at that mallet envy.
Yeah.
They were lucky to get it back. It was very impressive.
Should have just given them ours back and said it had shrunk.
Right. What else? What else have we got here? What got you into brewing, and kind of, if you weren't brewers now, what do you think? What could you foresee yourself doing as a career?
Well, that's interesting because we both actually have full-time jobs as well as the brewery.
Wow.
So we both work 9 to 5 jobs during the week, and the brewery we do on the evenings and the weekends. But what got us into it is like, I want to imagine how many other friends have sat round in a pub who homebrewed in the past and went, "Oh, I'd love to open a brewery," and we did. It was as simple as that. We took the talk from the pub table and we gave it a go.
Yeah, I mean, we had a period where we were brewing in my back garden. We'd meet once a month or so. We were brewing small batches of sort of 20 pints at a time. We had it on kind of a rolling rotation where we'd brew a batch while we're drinking the previous batch, and just kind of carried on for a good couple of years. And it got to the point my wife was like, "Look, you're making a mess of my house, mess of my garden. You've got your sheds, but you've now expanded beyond that into the bath and the shower and the kitchen." And it's like we kind of sat down. It's like, right, we've been doing this for this amount of time. Either we just kind of stop doing it and grow up, or we actually put our money where our mouth is and put this into practice. And here we are, I suppose. And
it's a hell of a commitment time-wise as well, especially if you are working full-time as well as this. This is your life, really, isn't it? This is where all your spare time goes, and so you've got to love it, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly. I've got 3 kids at home, so finding the time for a full-time job, looking after 3 kids. To be honest, in a way, coming here is a bit of a relief.
It's quite relaxing.
It's a bit like a crash, I get to escape the kids for a day or whatever it is. But yeah, I mean, trying to juggle the commitments. I mean, it is time consuming. And I think without elements of love and enjoying it, then obviously we wouldn't be here, and the support of our families and things. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you need those people around you. What about your favourite beer festivals? As in, Mike, you mentioned about Bruges, but what about UK as well?
We used to go to Reading a lot when we were in university. That was always a great festival.
Yeah.
Bank holiday, out in the field in the sun. You just had to get there an hour and a half before it opened because the queues were massive.
Yeah. What about you, Colin?
So I guess going back to my Canterbury days, sort of originally I'd have said Kent Beer Festival. It was always in the height of summer. It was always during holidays at university. So we always come back and everyone would meet up, and sort of do pub crawls and the beer festival, etc. But it's changed a bit in recent times, and we've started to go a bit more to St Albans Beer Festival. And while it may not be sort of the biggest and best and most well-known one, it's, in a kind of fairly quirky building, not far from St Albans train station. It's got a couple of local pubs nearby, which are quite nice. I just quite like going there, to, I guess, escape London as well.
Yeah.
Different.
Yeah. We don't get as much time. Now we have a brewery, we don't get as much time to go to beer festivals as we used to.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I think when I was young, I think 1 year in particular, I tried to average once a fortnight going to a beer festival. I know it's probably some of the more stalwart camera members, that's nothing, but I managed 25 in a year, and I thought that was pretty good.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's really good. Locally, we have Planet Thanet at Easter, which is in Margate each year, which is in the old Winter Gardens, which is a great festival. And one other I've been to that I really liked was Beers on the Wye up in Hereford. So
I've been to that one once. Yeah, that was great. We camped there.
Oh, did you? Wow. Yeah, I can see that's a nice fit for that sort of festival. Yeah. Good stuff. I don't know time, but have you got a favourite hobby outside of brewing?
I just love gaming, be it computer gaming, board gaming. I just love it all.
Yeah, I like that sort of stuff. What about you, Colin?
I mean, similar. I mean, we got quite similar likes. So yeah, board games, computer games, quite good. And bizarrely, I've just started homebrewing again. I guess in lockdown, I missed brewing so much, I decided to invest in a small homebrew.
All up.
Yeah, so the wife's not too happy, but I've basically done it kind of on the sly, and I've kept it very simple, so I can now brew start to finish in 90 minutes.
Right.
I cut a lot of corners, but it keeps me happy, and it's a bit of fun in the evenings when the kids are in bed.
Yeah, absolutely. And if the man of the house is happy, then everything's right with the world.
I wouldn't say I'm the man of the house.
What about when it comes to designing beers between the two of you? Have you got similar sort of palettes and similar sort of appreciations for styles that designing the next beer is not really an issue as far as what you're going to make?
Pretty much. I mean, we're both sort of big fans of long drinking sessions. We just relax in a pub for 7-8 pints, just chilling and chatting. So a lot of our beers tend to be lower strength. A lot of craft beers these days tend to be sort of 5, 6, 7, 8%. Ours tend to be 5 or lower on the whole. Again, in line with that, they tend to be fairly lighter drinking, so they're not too, too powerful flavored. We don't use many adjuncts and, lactose and a lot of ingredients. We tend to keep things simple on that front. I can say the only way we do differ is I like dark beers, Mike doesn't.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the stouts and porters myself. Like, I'll try a bit every now and again, and I can appreciate a good one, but I can't really sit there and drink a pint of a stout or a porter.
Right.
For my dark beers, you gotta give me a mild.
Yeah, I've been brought up on milds really, and normally a sort of Great British Beer Festival will be my opportunity to consume as much mild as I possibly can because I don't see it very often.
Yeah. Also, because we have a single hop series, the hop like I mentioned before, coming up with new beers is really easy. Every time you release a new hop, we've got a new beer.
Yeah.
We've currently got one brewing use CF182.
Oh yeah.
It's one of the ones which I trialed in my shoddy homebrew setup, and I drank all 4 litres in one evening. I didn't feel too good the next day, but I really enjoyed it. So we basically ran with it here, and we've got that in the FB right now.
That's an endorsement. Fuggles or Goldings, guys?
Most of our beers have Goldings in, so kind of by default that would be the go-to choice for us. Yeah. We use it quite a lot for bittering because we find it gives quite a sort of mellow, sort of hints of honey, smooth bittering. So
yeah, fair. Yeah. I think that's me as well. Mike, would you agree with that?
Yeah, it's just like you don't really get single hop beer with those two, so it's just what we use is the one we prefer.
Yeah, I mean our best bitter uses both, and actually is more emphasis on the Fuggles than the Goldings, but that's an anomaly in our lineup. Most of them do have East Kent Goldings in.
Excellent, excellent. A fine hop, if I may say. Okay, just wrapping up, guys. What's kind of next for the brewery? Obviously, trying to get re-established again once restrictions are lifted. But sort of, have you got plans for sort of like certain beers later on in the year, or what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, right now, as you say, we're sort of playing catch up a bit. So we're just trying to get our core line sort of back in stock. So we're currently brewing the old favourites, the best bitters, session IPAs, ales and things.
We do have a new take on one of our beers planned, because at the moment we have River Styx, which is our easy drinking 3.7% London Porter. We're planning to make an imperial version.
Yeah,
Lovely.
Which is not massively weird if you compare other people's porters. I think we're unusual that our porter's 3.7%, but it's something we're looking forward to. So yeah, we'll be doing that in the future.
That sounds great. Yeah, I look forward to that. And finally, where can the watching audience on YouTube or wherever they are find your beers and taste them?
It's a bit of a mixed bag. So I tend to deliver quite a few beers locally to me. So living in sort of southeast London, we've got quite a few micro pubs, and I'm doing a delivery tonight actually to Ilperton Liberal Club.
Oh yes, good, great place.
We'll have a couple of beers on there.
And there's a chain, a small chain called Bottle Apostle in London, bottle shop and wine shop, and they generally stock our cans and bottles.
Fantastic, brilliant. Well, guys, thank you very much indeed for joining me, especially on a Saturday when you're going to be obviously busy doing other things. So much appreciated, and thanks for your time. And I wish you well for the coming weeks and months. And I hope business re-establishes itself.
No, that's good.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks very much.
Thanks for inviting us.
Hi everyone, it's John from Charles Faram. I'm talking to Colin and Mike today from Spartan Brewery about their favourite beer in the feature Just Add Water. Colin and Mike,
Hello.
Hiya guys, talk to me about the favourite beer that you make and what were the ideas behind it, and if you can, how you make it.
I guess we probably have a favourite beer each.
Yeah, they're different.
Since you ask. Mine personally would be a London Porter we make called River Styx. Unlike other London Porters, it's quite low ABV at 3.7%. So it's one of those beers where it's quite light in body as well. So, a lot of people think of, dark beers, good for the winter, they're heavy, they're warming. This is light, it's refreshing, but it still has the elements you'd expect from a dark beer. So it still has the roasted notes, it still has the coffee, it still has that complexity, but it's just all kind of taken back a notch, and it's, easy drinking all year round, but also good in summer, which is unusual for a dark beer.
What do you hop it with, Colin?
It's actually hopped with East Kent Goldens.
Right.
Just single hopped. So nice and simple, but it's got a nice floral note. A little bit of sweetness from the bitter in as well, but not too much. And then I think there's 8 different malts in there, which sort of adds the complexity. Really,
it's one of the most complex malt bases we actually have in our lowest ABV beer, which I think is something. The lower strength of beer, the more effort you have to put in with your malt to get the right flavour. To be honest, it's quite annoying because we make batches of beer, and because we don't brew overly often, we like to try and use up entire bags of ingredients at a time. So typically when we plan recipes, whether it be malt or hops, we try and round ingredients and the volume we're making to use up whole bags of things. So, hops come in 5 kilo packs, we try and use 5 kilos. Malt comes in 25 kilo sacks, we try and use 25 kilos. But of course, when you're using 8 different malts in a sort of low ABV beer, you don't need 25 kilos of black malt. So we it's one of those beers which is good to make, but it's annoying because we end up getting so much stuff in, and then we have part bags of stuff around. So.
Yeah, I can imagine. Did you find that it sells? You managed to sell it throughout the year, or do you have a point during the summer where it doesn't get made because people are wanting to drink paler beers?
I think actually people really like it in the summer. People see it, like sometimes they need to have a quick try. They say, "Ooh, like if it's a hot day and people are looking for a darker beer, it's the right beer for it because it's it's got, as Colin said, the traditional things that a porter does, but it's also quite refreshing and quite light.
Yeah.
So we tend to sell it all year round, and it's a big favourite at the Orpington Liberal Club.
Yeah, I mean, as a club, they're one of our few clients who regularly buy dark beers all year round. You know, most of our trade sales to pubs are pale beers, just because they either don't shit enough dark beer or they don't think they will, so they buy them in. Whereas the Liberal Club is one that always sells dark beer, and a lot of their members, not to be rude, tend to be sort of older and tend to also like dark beers which are lower ABV. So there we find it sells very well, and they love getting it in because it pleases them, because it's dark, and also because it's low ABV and full of flavour.
Yeah, it ticks all their boxes.
Yeah, so yeah, one of their favourites for sure. But yeah, I mean, dark beers in summer is always a hard sell, we find.
Yeah, I do get that, but I really like dark beers as well, and I'm always on the lookout, and I get a bit frustrated sometimes. I'll go to many of the pubs around here, and there won't be a dark offering at all. So it's yeah, it's good to, and I don't really want to drink Guinness, so it's yeah, it's a little bit of a pain, but yeah, I'll definitely look out for that.
We always try and have something on the darker side, be it a mild or a porter.
Yeah, I mean, they're both technically core beers, but due to the way we brew, it doesn't mean we'll have it in stock, all the time. But most of the time we do. You know, we get it in when we can.
Fantastic, Mike. What about yourself? What the favourite beer that you make that?
It would be Phalanx, our dark mild, which is one of the first recipes I came up with, and it's the one that's based around Bramling Cross. And the way I came up with this is almost my homage to Sarah Hughes' Dark Ruby Mild, which is in my top 5 beers of all time. The only reason it's probably not at the top is because it's too strong and you can't drink it all day. But so I love the idea of a rich dark mild, but I didn't want to copy it, of course. So I took the ABV down a little bit to around 5.5%, and then added Bramling Cross, as we mentioned on the other podcast. That is my favourite hop, and I just love the flavour it brings out.
How late are you adding that Bramling Cross into the brew day? Sorry, into the boil? Are you is it going very late, or do you kind of knock it back into the boil so you get a deeper flavour out of it?
I use it multiple times throughout. So we dry hop. We've also used the
hop burst.
Hop burst. That's the badger.
Yeah.
The hop burst for in place of dry hopping, which means you get really the intense blackcurrant flavour that you're really looking for from that hop. But yeah, so all the way throughout. So a bit at the start, bit at the end of the boil for a bit of a whirlpool, and then some in the dry hop.
I must say the whirlpool hops on that one are extreme. Given you think dark mild, you think malt forwards, not too hoppy, but it's probably one of our biggest hop additions later on in any of our beers. It's up there with the pale ales and the IPAs. It's a lot of Bramling Cross.
Yeah, it's surprising how much you need in there to counteract the rich flavour to actually get the blackcurrant notes in there. But when it comes through, it's fantastic.
And again, the complexity of the grist. Are you mixing it up as far as your specialty grains going in, or is it?
It's not as complex as the porter, but again, it's 3 or 4 different malts. A touch of dark, a touch of the sort of like roasted malts, just to get that nice sort of ruby colour when you look through it in the sun.
Oh yeah, lovely. I can picture it now. Thanks, guys. It's really kind of you to spare your time, and I hope Spartan have a good summer, and I look forward to meeting you in person at some stage.
Excellent. Yeah, thanks very much.
Cheers, guys.